Hello and welcome to Season of 12 Colors Message on a Paper Plane. This is a new series that I'm going to start, and there's pretty much not much to say about it. So from looking at the starting menu, you might notice a lack of an options or system button. It confused me a bit when I started the game that there wasn't an option for that, which there usually is when you start up a visual novel. But I found it eventually. You have to go into New Game. Now, as you can see here, I have been through parts of it. That's because I tried to record it in full screen, only to find out that my recorder had not been following through and hadn't recorded the video, but had only recorded the audio. So I'm going back to record it in windowed mode because that is easier for me. Right, so the system button, as you can see, is down here. Now I have, and you actually have to go into configuration if you want to exit the game from within. So it's not the best UI right off the bat, but I've turned down voices completely. Sound volume, there's a bit of that, and background music, a little bit of that. Voices I've turned down because I like to voice them myself. Alright, I think we're pretty much ready to go with this, so let's get started. Obviously, we have to take the prologue first. The way it was, just like it is now, on a bright, bright summer day. That's a promise, right? The girl in the white dress asked. Sunny sky, a paper plane slid across it, riding on blue winds. For summer vacation, I had come to my uncle's house in the country. Life here was so much easier. With the high school entrance exam finished, it was like a huge burden had been lifted away all of a sudden. Holidays, long as a dream, free of homework, couldn't get much more blissful. I stretched out and laid down on the grass, putting myself in the most comfortable position possible. Then again, there was a downside. It wasn't exactly thrilling to be here. There's not much to do. No access to internet or computers, only a handful of channels available on the TV. Welcome to the countryside. And all of those 5, 6, 7-year-olds in the neighborhood, how was I supposed to play with them? That was how I ended up rolling around on the grass, the soft grass and its scent rubbed against my cheeks and ears, feeling tickly and cool. I didn't feel like getting up. Sunbeams streamed through the branches and leaves, everything was draped in sunshine. It suddenly didn't seem like a bad idea to sleep away the whole summer like this. Even the wind smelled fresh and nice. And then the sun was blocked. I was cast into shade. Oh, that's an adorable looking face. When I opened my eyes, I saw before me a wide-brimmed straw hat, a pair of big, big eyes. Looking down at me with great interest, it was a young girl in a white dress. Hello. Nice to see you again. So that's the end of the prologue. As you can see, that wasn't very long. Now, we've had shorter stories before, but let's just continue. The sun had been exceptionally bright that summer. It was just before the hottest hour of noon. I was relaxing under a tree, trying to enjoy the cool shade for a moment. That was how I met the girl. Yet, there was more to it. Had I met her somewhere else before? And what was her name? Name's Jasmine. Wide-brimmed straw hat, pure white dress. In the beautiful summertime sunshine, the girl smiled when she told me her name. Ah, now I could recall it. I did meet her last time when I came to my uncle's house. Her name was Jasmine. She was a girl living in the neighborhood, about the same age as me. Finally, you do remember me now, don't you? Her voice was full of glee. Such a long, long time since then. She wandered around in a dance-like step and turning a bit in circles. But there was still something. It seems to me that she had hardly changed at all these years. Oh wait, did she even grow shorter? I made fun of her for this. Pouty face. That's total nonsense. Jasmine pouted and stomped lightly. I tried my best to grow taller. How could you say that? And then she added, just because you're a boy doesn't mean you have the right to grow this tall. I had to admit, I was a bit too tall for my own good. The year I entered junior high, I had reached 175 centimeters. Now I guess I was well over 180. Back then I was the one reaching for what everyone else couldn't. Wait, what was that? Something emerged in a flash and faded away. Come, let's play together. Jasmine skipped in front of me and looked up. Excuse me? How old were you? The way her eyes lit up with the word play made her look like a very, very young child. I was not really one to judge, though. But talking of together, was there anyone else here that could play with us? I asked her. No one really. It had always been just the two of us. Those huge eyes flickered as she answered my question. So my memory tricked me. Yet I still felt like there had been someone. A child, a little younger than both of us. Wah! Jasmine jumped with a start. She grabbed my hands and hastily, and then before I could protest, I was dragged into a bush. Hey, what's wrong? I almost shouted out loud, but Jasmine had put a finger against her lips, shaking her head, gesturing me to keep quiet. What's going on? Clueless, I looked in the direction she was looking. There were no tigers or bears that happened to walk by, not even agricultural trackers. Just a bunch of kids, 7, 8-year-olds. Chattering, they ran off. The kids went out of sight. The girl beside me let out a sigh in great relief. Hey, don't tell me you had to hide from them. It's just a bunch of kids. Yes. Jasmine came back out on her hands and knees. She looked a bit embarrassed, placing her hand on her straw hat to keep it from falling. What do you mean, yes? Had she not been such a little girl, I would have flicked her on the forehead. How come she got so scared by kids so much younger than herself? I couldn't believe it. I'm sorry. Jasmine apologized timidly. I can't get used to crowded places. She stole glances at me. Her voice trailed off. I put down my hand. How old were you again? And even for those kids, simply making friends with them would be fine. It would have been so easy. Hey. Jasmine kept silent while she listened to my preaching. Only after I finished, she spoke, almost in a whisper. Friends? Her head lifted. I only had one friend. She smiled softly, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. A summer day, just like it had always been. The sun was so bright. Cicadas couldn't stop singing. I hurried home to finish my lunch and then had to run back here in a rush. Just ask me whose fault it was. Come here, come here. The girl waving at me, her name was Jasmine. She lived nearby and was about the same age as me. Without many other friends to play with, she usually followed me around. Even on such a scorchingly hot summer's noon, there was no exception. The drowsiness started to sink in after I had lunch. All I wanted was to take a nap. By the way, had it not been for her saying, "You have to come, I have something nice to show you," there's no way I would have come out under this blazing sun, as if I had nothing better to do. I did wish she would tell me how much further we had to walk, though. For some reason, the scenery felt completely unchanged to me. Were we just going round and round in circles? Jasmine looked back at me and smiled. She had been leading us around in the woods, skipping and ducking to get through. We're almost there. The moment her words reached me, the view expanded before us. I never knew there was a place like this within the woods. The air was filled with the sweet scent of wildflowers and grass, a wide clearing. The sky was merely a circle surrounded by a growth of trees, covering everything like a dome. And just like in the fairy tales, in the middle of the clearing there stood a little wood house. Right here. Jasmine turned around. This is my secret base. Her face brightened up as she introduced me to her great treasure. First of all, she had found this place. For this I had to give her credit. Having come into the woods quite a few times, I didn't even know it existed. And then... how am I supposed to even attempt to read that? Couldn't help but wonder what the girl was doing in there. With "It's too messy inside, I need to clean it up," she dived into the house. Then there came the suspicious noise. Anything wrong? You need help? Just what is this all about? Whoa! A loud clatter. First the straw hat, then the girl. All fell out together with a huge pile of books, snow crashing out the door. Hey, are you okay? Oh, not again. She dug her way out of the mountain of books and dusted her straw hat before putting it back on. Jasmine seemed so innocent when she looked up at me. But I had to ask, just what were these beautifully bound hardcover bricks of books with gibberish written all over them? Those are Dad's books, she told me. We didn't have enough space at home, so we just moved them here. Oh, now I understood. Judging from the volumes we have here, I really looked forward to visiting the inside of the house. Grumbling to myself, I had no choice but to help Jasmine pick up the books. They were all over the place. Hey, where should these go? Just put them in the corner, over there. I had to watch my step in the narrow space hugging the pile of books. Books filled the house, all the way up to the ceiling. Between the stacks of books there was barely room to walk, if I hadn't been careful. Thinking about what just happened to Jasmine, I couldn't help but shiver. Ha! After a prolonged struggle, we managed to almost finish putting all the books back into order. Now let's see what's left. Let me put these inside. Oh, those are fine. You can just leave them there. Jasmine smiled and took them. Those are my books. Oh, you do read. How surprising. I stared at her dorky face. What? Of course I read. Will you please stop making a fool of others? Jasmine pouted and protested. Sure. I brushed her off. Sitting in the on the wooden doorsteps, I grabbed a book to fan myself. Hey, I really did read them. What about this one? She sat down heavily beside me and brought with her a thick book. That's really something, really. By the way, it was a book of fairy tales for kids. Yes, so? When I opened up the book, Jasmine leaned in closer. These stories are wonderful. I get it. So you're a kid. Like, that's new, but you're getting a bit too close. It's getting kind of hot. Let's see, we have here Mr. Rabbit, Miss Duck, and Aunt Goose, and... Halfway into her enthusiastic talk, Jasmine paused. Her eyes widened, her head tilted. What were those torn edges? The page looked as if it had been bit out by rats. Oh, it's... When I was little, I tore off a piece of paper from the page to make a paper plane. Could be something like that. She scratched her head. Didn't look very guilty, though. You know what? Mr. Rabbit will cry a river over this. I made a semi-serious face, and with great pity I inspected the rat's work. You're right. She seemed to be thinking about it. Please accept my apologies, Mr. Rabbit. Wait, was she serious? Seriously agonizing over this? What can I do for you? Hey, I was just kidding. Don't look like you're about to get into that book. Alright, I got it. I swiftly snatched the book from her hands. The girl was left grasping at air for a split second. Hey, how about this? I stood up, having mischievous ideas. Jasmine looked at me, puzzled. Let's tear it all up. What do you think? I acted like I was really about to tear apart the book. My words finally registered. Jasmine jumped with a start. You can't do that. Besides, why would you want to do something like that? Jasmine was desperate to get the book back. Unfortunately, even if she extended her arm, it was still shorter than mine. There was no way she could reach the book I had been holding over my head. Oh, you ask why I was doing this? I hadn't decided on that yet. It was just a little prank, but it was so much fun messing around with her. I couldn't help but want to play bad guy some more. Look, hiding the book behind me, I started to invent random excuses. You see, Mr. Rabbit was on that plane, right? I turned in a circle. Jasmine followed around. So, you know what? Wouldn't it be a great idea to make the rest of the book into paper planes as well? Miss Duck, Aunt Goose, and whoever that way they could all meet with Mr. Rabbit again. I held the book high up above my head. Hey! Wow, she jumped up. To reach the book in my hand, Jasmine practically threw herself at me. I tried to dodge, but it was too late. That was a miscalculation. A young girl got me. Well, I had only myself to blame. I asked myself if I was going too far with this prank. At the same time, just when I was about to get up, the sound of our foreheads touching, her skin felt cool. I opened my eyes. We were so close our noses were almost touching. Jasmine bounced away. Sorry! Hugging the book, she apologized in a fluster. Come to think of it, I was the one that needed to examine my faults. My heart was beating unreasonably fast. I got up from the grass, trying to ignore it. But, you know, she held the book tightly, as if afraid I would take it away again. You don't just tear books, you know that, she said. That's not what I expected to hear from someone who bit it like a rat. That wasn't a rat. Her puffed out cheeks were so much fun to look at. It was just, when I was little, her voice became smaller. Too naughty, that's all. In the glow of the setting sun, the girl blushed apologetically. Whatever you say, though, it's just not right to tear books. Okie dokie, I promised her. I was starting to think that it must be close to dinner time. Uncle must be waiting for me. If you really would like to make a paper plane. She looked very serious when she said this, emphasizing each word. You could use other paper. Of course she was right. It's time for me to go. You should go home as well. When I said this... Oh! That face! In the light of the setting sun, there was a look on her face. It only lasted for a very brief moment. Then... After that, she gave me a big smile. See you tomorrow, Mr. Rabbit. I answered with a see you and stepped in onto the pathway. Wait. Since when did I become Mr. Rabbit? Hey, let's play! The girl in the white dress said. It was a very, very long time ago. A dream filled with bright summer sunshine. Something hit my forehead. Enough! When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was a pouting Jasmine. How come you could just sleep away such a fine day? No, listen, I did have an excuse. Last night it was too hot for me to sleep. To make things worse, when I finally did fall asleep, I had the weirdest dream ever. Just couldn't get rid of the drowsiness. Yawning, I threw back at her all those origamis that fell on me. I had figured it would be nicer and cooler here. Well, you could say that. But when I came here early in the morning, I had heard at once the sound of footsteps. Jasmine ran to welcome me. Her face was all lit up with sunshine, so she was also an early riser. And let's make paper planes. Judging from the mountain of colored paper, it seemed she had been well prepared for this great event. Wait, don't tell me you bit those pages out last night from all those books in the house. How's that possible? I told you I wasn't a rat. She stomped and handed me a thick stack of paper. These are from my used notebooks. Unbelievably awful handwriting. And which grade were you in? 7th grade? 8th? Do you even need to think about that? 10th grade? Bang! I had acted before I could think. To knock her on the head without mercy. What are you doing? She cried out. This was punishment for stupid kids. Fair enough. After that, I threw myself onto the grass, closing my eyes to take a nap. Please don't tell me you're going to sleep again. Her tiny voice was not hard to ignore. I turned over and stepped on. Indeed, how can you do this? She seemed to have given up. And then there were noises, paper shuffling. Footsteps running away from me. Hey! Once again, something hit my forehead. What's this? Heh! The next time, its tip touched my nose. It felt light as a feather. Hey! 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 3 shots at once. Aiming at my neck, cheeks and ears. Come on, it got into my ears. I jumped up. How dare the little girl play pranks on me? Me, the king of pranks. I grabbed the paper planes that fell on the ground and threw them out in a professionally quick and precise motion. Eh? Actually, I just threw the plane with all my strength. Unfortunately, it had the nerve to simply dive down and crash onto the ground after a short and unstable flight. Heh! She was laughing at me. I could tell. You got it all wrong, Mr. Rabbit. I told you I am not Mr. Rabbit, and throwing paper planes require more than strength. Oh, really? The angle you throw it, the direction of the wind, there are a lot of techniques. Oh, and you need to control the distance too. That's a lot of trouble. Why not just... I'll just stuff it in your collar. Wait there. You can't. That's breaking the rules. Giggling, she ran around the house to hide. Stop it. I had to punish her for disturbing my sweet sleep. I ran after her like an idiot. Okay, final conclusion. We were both idiots. Ha 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 ha. We sprawled on the grass and panted heavily. I lost. Ray can't run anymore. Jasmine's voice drifted over. Actually, it was not like I could run any longer either. And to be honest, there was no way I would have actually done anything to her like that. At last, we just chased each other around the house like 2 idiots we were. Come to think of it, why did I have to do that? Sleep deprivation? Hey! Jasmine's voice again. so close within reach. We can be like this, always, can't we? The patch of sun-filled blue sky, surrounded by treetops. Like a dome, it looked down at us in a beautiful silence. Can we play together tomorrow? Of course, I answered without hesitation. And the day after tomorrow? Sure, that would be fine too. I was starting to run out of patience. What about the day after that? And every day afterwards? A soft breeze brought the scent of wildflowers and grass. The smell came from Jasmine. We can be together like this, can't we? I had never heard a tone like that before. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. It would have been easy to tell her that of course we could, but suddenly I felt that even if I told her, I would not be completely confident that it would come true. A soft touch. She took my fingers in her palms. Yes? Jasmine sounded like she had made a decision. She said, It's all right. What? Even if we only have this moment, it's already good enough. We were both looking up at the sky. I couldn't see the look on her face. Yes. The only thing I could do was to make sure she was really there, through the feeling on my fingers. It's all right now. I didn't know what I was talking about. Neither did Jasmine speak afterwards. We just lay there and looked up at the silent blueness. And that's where we'll end the first episode of Season of 12 Colors. So this is definitely going to be, judging from this screen with the chapters and all, a fairly short visual novel, but you know, sometimes you have to make room for shorter stories as well as the larger ones. So maybe this will just be a 2-episode series, who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.